All right, welcome to the show, y'all. I got a special one for you today. So, in just a second, man, this is so crazy. We have some bombshell news about how Jeffrey Epstein, before his death, was apparently fearing that Trump would kill him. I'm not kidding. This is directly from Michael Wolff, who did hours and hours of interviews with Jeffrey Epstein. So that's incredible. We'll talk about that. We also have Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes are absolutely going ballistic on each other. And it's fun. I'm not going to lie. It is a fun fight to watch. I am that meme of the dude standing there going, let him fight. Let him fight, man. That's all I want to see is for them to keep going at the jugular. So we'll talk about that. Then later on, we have Bill Burr is clearly sick of Joe Rogan's bullshit. We have Trump randomly picking a fight with Charlemagne the God. Okay. We have, in Australia, there's some anti-genocide protests that absolutely exploded. Wait until you see how giant the crowds were there. Marjorie Taylor Greene is beginning to go a little rogue on the Republican Party. I have some kind of amazing quotes of her for you. And then also later on, we have Dave Smith was involved in a debate that absolutely went off the rails. This is, I believe it was a zero hedge debate. And I don't know if I've ever seen two people that pissed off at each other in a debate, but they were. So we'll talk about that and more. You guys know the drill. Everybody, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. Thank you to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. If you'd like to support the show, that link is below. You can do that or tip on YouTube or sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. Remember, this is real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser. I've never done an ad read. So you guys support the show from the ground up. It makes a huge, huge difference. And guys, I can't stress this enough. Go subscribe to the Corin's World YouTube channel because we're doing a live Kyle and Corin's over there. And we're trying to do them every single week. So you can come hang out with us as we talk live. We're trying to do them Mondays at 8:30, around 8:30. So Corin's World, go subscribe there. You don't want to miss it. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. So Michael Wolff, as you all know, did hours and hours of interviews with Jeffrey Epstein. And he recorded a lot of them. He has them on audio tape. That's how we learned that Trump was basically Epstein's best friend for over a decade. We learned that directly from Jeffrey Epstein himself, and he's on tape saying it. We also learned that Trump is a rotten piece of shit who loves to cuck his best friends. He likes to try to fuck his best friends' wives. We learned that the first time Trump and Melania had sex was on the Lolita Express. That's Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile plane, of course. Well, Michael Wolff spoke to Midas Touch earlier in the week, and he had, man, this is wild. What he's about to say here is wild. He's going to speak to the dirt that Epstein had on Trump, and Michael Wolff was basically like, hey, man, you should probably release that. And then he's going to lay out here what Epstein said in response, and it is absolutely chilling. Watch this.
I had a conversation yesterday with someone who speaks to Trump often, and this person had spoken to Trump in the last 48 hours. Now, a really good way to understand what's on Trump's mind is to track the conversations that he has with this set of people who he calls often. I think my feeling has always been that that Trump needs to think out loud, and calling this list of people who he appears to trust, even though they might call me afterwards, is a way really to follow exactly what is on Trump's mind. In this conversation that he had within the last several days, he said to this person, "People say I had Epstein killed. I didn't have Epstein killed," Trump said. And then this person said, "Well, do you think that he was killed?" And Trump replied, "A lot of people wanted him dead."
That's already chilling, bro. The fact that the president feels hey, I didn't have him killed. I swear I didn't have him killed. Thou doth protest too much? A little bit, un poquito? God damn, man. What the hell?
I find this, to be honestly, a chilling conversation, which I've been thinking about. The idea that the president of the United States would have to say and go out of his way to say that he hadn't had someone killed seems chillingly to imply that he could have had someone killed. And there's a way that Trump has often often spoken about his belief that assassinations, both domestic and foreign, have been freely carried out by the United States government. And then the idea that there are a whole population of people who wanted Epstein dead. And Trump seems to include himself in this. And again, it's that sense on the part of Trump that he believed Epstein knew too much. And certainly in the case of Trump, Epstein could fill in a whole part of the Trump background. Those early days, Trump's early days in the real estate business, in New York. And the real estate business in New York is filled with, as a matter of fact, I don't know how you can be in the real estate business without having direct connections to organized crime.
That's actually a super important point that we don't make enough. But as you could see here, I think this was a Politico article, I think. What were Donald Trump's ties to the mob? So here you have the former mayor of New York City, Ed Koch, with Trump. But then to Ed Koch's left is a guy by the name of Roy Cohn. He was the top mob lawyer. And as Michael Wolff points out, there's no such thing as doing business in real estate in New York City in the 70s, 80s, and 90s without having mafia ties. You needed mob ties. And so that opens up a whole other can of worms, right? Just how much was he involved? What did he do? There's certainly been allegations of money laundering, consistently laundering dirty money for various different mafia outlets from different ethnicities. So there's a lot to say there.
Certainly that was one of the things that Epstein talked about. There are years in which the two of these guys were pursuing models, doing whatever they could to get these women. This period in Trump's life when there have been accusations after accusations by a whole lineup of women. And then this was the period in Trump's life of his bankruptcies. And Epstein had an interesting view on this, because Trump was forgiven personal loans that he had guaranteed personally of about $1 billion. Now, when you're forgiven personal loans, that immediately becomes income. And Epstein would talk about his involvement with Trump in hiding this money from the IRS. What did Epstein know about Trump? That's a foundational question here. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about the ways in which Epstein was a clear threat to Trump, and especially after he became the president of the United States.
In fact, Steve Bannon said to Epstein, "You were the only person I was worried about in 2016. You were the only person who I thought could stop the Trump train." That's what Bannon said to Epstein. By the way, Bannon is sitting on like 15 hours of interview tapes with Epstein that he's refusing to release, as he's hilariously talking about, hey, release the files. How about you release your fucking interviews? How about that? What are you hiding?
But I think it's also important to think about what kind of threat Trump was to Epstein. I know at one point when Epstein would show me these pictures of Trump. Again, I've described these before, but a set of about a dozen Polaroid pictures, 3 of which I specifically remember. 2 with different girls sitting on Trump's lap, topless, and then a 3rd with a telltale stain on the front of Trump's pants, with 4 or 5 girls pointing at this. Topless girls pointing at him and laughing. And I urged Trump.
By the way, girls of an uncertain age, mind you.
Urged Epstein. I said, you should release these pictures. I mean, if for no other reason, and Epstein was already in trouble and already a figure of which people were. He was already demonized. I said, maybe this will even help you. You can be on the side of right here. And I remember Epstein said, again, chilling at the time, he said, I may be a pervert, but I'm not crazy. And then he said, Trump is a man without any scruples. Chill went up my back then. And I think this brings us to August 10th, 2019, in that jail cell. And obviously, all of the questions about what happened that morning are involved with why this story keeps going.
Jeffrey Epstein was afraid that Trump would kill him. Wow. That's why he didn't release the pictures when he was alive, right? That's why he didn't release it. And so now, you got Trump out there denying, hey, I had nothing to do with it. I didn't kill him. There were a lot of people that wanted him dead, but it wasn't me. Who was president at the time? There's also weird connections. Bill Barr, of course, was the attorney general at the time that you had Epstein killed in his jail cell. There's weird connections between Bill Barr and this whole thing as well, for the people who know the deep lore of Epstein. And so this is Michael Wolff validating that Epstein feared Trump was going to kill him. Stop and think about that. Because I remember when Epstein was killed, a lot of people on the right, they were all in on, it was Bill Clinton, it had to be the Clintons. And then here you have validation that no, the one who was like top of mind that Epstein was scared of was Trump, and Trump was president, and he had the motive at the time. Wow. That's crazy. Holy shit, man. Holy shit. We're working on trying to get Michael Wolff on Crystal Kyle and Friends, because this guy knows so much about this case. He spent a lot of time with Epstein, did a lot of interviews with Epstein. He seemingly knows where all the bodies are buried. And by the way, shame on mainstream media. Why are they not showing you this? Here you have a guy that we know, as a matter of fact, did hours and hours and hours of recorded interviews with Jeffrey Epstein. It's not a question. It's not up in the air. We know that's true. He has the tapes. Why are none of you talking to this guy? Why are none of you talking to him? I mean, even if you don't like him personally, or you think he's got issues in terms of his credibility, just get the tapes from him, right? Just get the tapes. Run the tapes. But no, there's so many things that are being hidden in this Epstein scandal, including the fact that both Epstein, Donald Trump, and Jean-Luc Brunel, and John Casablancas, all these people were involved in teen modeling agencies, and those modeling agencies were a front for human trafficking. Again, something nobody talks about in mainstream media. So, wakey to mainstream media. Wakey to the Democrats. Why aren't you talking about this? Imagine if the shoe was on the other foot, and we had a right-wing journalist who was saying, I spoke to Epstein before he was killed, and he was saying, like, I fear Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is a man with no scruples. I'm worried about what he's going to do to me. Would they ever shut the fuck up? They would never shut up about that. But here we have, they're validating it about Trump, and Trump is calling people like, I didn't kill him. Don't think I didn't kill him. Which makes you go, damn, you must have fucking killed him. Right? Nobody's talking about it. So shout out to the Midas guys, always on top of this story. But this is just a mind-boggling story, man. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.